So there's really two factors in this attack that are really important. The first is that they are getting bulk aggregation of account data and PINs so that they're able to do the attack on scale. The second, and this is really key, is they're raising the daily withdrawal limit on those accounts, so they're getting a higher return on investment per attack. If you can think of criminals, they run a business, right? And they're really interested in return on investment, just like any business is. So they want the maximum return on investment per action.
And from a very selfish and personal standpoint, there are people who are going to be watching this segment right this minute who are going to think to themselves, is my account at risk? So that's the question. Is everybody's account at risk? And what do they do about it?
Well, there's two factors here. I mean, is your account at risk? Anytime you're using any kind of account anywhere on the connected world today, it's at risk. But keep in mind, most banks, especially federally insured banks, your account is protected. So even though your account is at risk, your money is not, because it will be backed up. But that said, to be sure, call the number on the back of the card and check with your bank to see what your protections are.
And in terms of, is there anything, though, specific beyond just making that phone call that someone can do?
Yeah, there actually is. And anytime you have this kind of problem out there, it's sort of a wake-up call and maybe a reminder to do things that you should have been doing this whole time, like checking your account balance periodically, looking over your statement, looking for withdrawals that you don't recognize or charges that you don't recognize. But as well, that same number on the back of the card, call them and ask what your daily withdrawal limit is. If it seems abnormally high, go ahead and lower it to a number you can live with. And also, if from one call to the next, that number changes, that's cause for alarm. Maybe have a conversation with the bank about that.
Charles, we've had this debate on the show before. Do you print out your statements or get them in any kind of printed form?
I do not, and that's not just because for environmental reasons. It's just that, I don't want documents floating around with my financial information on them. I'm a very private person in that regard.
I don't know if you're going to be able to answer this question because I know you got lots of clients in the banking business. Are there particular banks that you think have superior technology to others and ones that are specifically less capable of dealing with something like this?
So, I'm going to kind of turn that question a little bit. Look, we've got, we deal with very large banks, very small banks, and the common denominator on banks that can deal with threat is the banks that have a strong and comprehensive testing program. If you think about what my team, X-Force Red, does within IBM, we play the part of a criminal. I run a team of hackers, right? And the banks that hire us or hire someone to go out and simulate and to predict that hacker attack or that criminal attack before it actually happens, those are the teams that are best prepared. It isn't how big or small the bank is, it's how forward-thinking they are about making sure that the first time their ATMs, their web apps, their mobile applications are tested, it's not by an actual criminal. Because generally they're not going to succeed against an attack if the first time they're playing that game, they're doing it in live action.
One final question. Regulators, including the Fed, now monitor banks from a regulatory perspective around their cybersecurity and what measures they have in place. Do you think that the Fed and other regulators have the capabilities, the technological capabilities to actually properly measure whether these banks are doing the right things?
So look, regulation is great for getting a minimum bar for compliance purposes. But in order for security to succeed, you can't aim for the minimum bar. You can't be the slowest gazelle in the herd, so to speak. We need to shoot for a much higher bar and look at things like best practice, look at trying to excel, not merely survive.